Welcome back, everyone, to What the Why with Barbara Ann on RVN Television. If you haven't seen us before, our show features conversations with diverse leaders from all walks of life about why they do what they do and how they figured things out. Maybe you're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, or you feel stuck and you want to get unstuck in your business, your job, or your life. All of our guests have something in common with you. At some point, they felt similarly and they decided to do something about it. And today is no exception. Please join us in welcoming Lucy Milligan Wahl to the show. Lucy is the founder of LMW Edits, a San Francisco-based boutique professional organizing company founded in 2014. Lucy's organizing work focuses on common sense solutions for modern urban living. She believes that an organized home is the foundation of a beautiful life that prioritizes the relationships, activities, and commitments that matter most. Personally, Lucy's no stranger to organization. She arranged every crayon box she ever owned into rainbow order and has conducted semi-annual closet edits since the age of 14. Professionally, Lucy is a Golden Circle member of the National Association of Professional Organizers and its Bay Area chapter, holding certificates in Essentials of Organizing and Residential Organizing, as well as a 2024 NAPO Business Stamp of Approval. Lucy got her start in nonprofit fundraising, and giving back is still a huge part of her life. When she's not organizing, Lucy serves as the board chair of Counterpulse, a performance art incubator in the Tenderloin district of San Francisco, and volunteers as a member of the National Ski Patrol at Palisades in Tahoe. Lucy holds an AB, or a Bachelor of Arts, or Arts of Bachelors, from Princeton University, because they like to reverse the letters and be very unique, and an MBA, initials in the correct order, from the UCLA Anderson School of Management. She lives in San Francisco with her husband, Andrew, and rescue pit bull Pippa. San Francisco? You heard me correctly. Lucy traveled with her husband to the East Coast in part to appear live and in person and do some other things as well. But I'm super excited to get to meet her in person and have you all see her in person as well. So without further ado, please join me in a round of applause in welcoming Lucy Milligan Wahl to our show. So, yay! Round of applause for you.
Thank you.
So yes, I wanted to make sure everybody knew. She came from the West Coast. So thank you so much for fitting us into your schedule as part of this larger trip to the East Coast. And as you and our audience both know, after we go through and read your bio, and there's some things in there that aren't even in there, like the ski patrol just touches on some aspects of your life. All of the things that you've done, I don't imagine that what you're doing now is what you wanted to be when you were growing up.
No. I had no idea what I'm doing now existed.
Yeah, so Lucy, what did little Lucy want to be when she was growing up?
I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Wow.
I just was really obsessed with like dolphins and sea lions and stuff.
Which, I mean, who wouldn't? Next to elephants, they're my favorite. How did you get from being wanting to be a marine biologist, who I can totally appreciate organizing the crayons in rainbow order. Definitely, woman after my heart.
Yes.
How did you get from there to where you are now?
Well, it's a long and winding road, as entrepreneurship usually is.
Mm-hmm.
My first career out of college was nonprofit fundraising. I worked for a university, and that was when I decided to get my MBA, because I was getting a little bit bored, stuck, sort of thinking like, how can I accelerate my career? Let me go get an MBA. So I did. It was an amazing experience, just like drinking from a fire hose for 2 years of all kinds of amazing stuff. And when I graduated, I was really excited to go back into fundraising. And when I would interview, it would be, oh, great, you can have the same job basically that you had before business school, just you need to raise more money. And I just kind of thought, oh, wow, I just spent a lot of effort and time and energy and money expanding my world, and now I'm going to have to go back. And that just kind of felt like a dead end to me. And so from there it was, well, now what do I do? Because I've been pointing at this my whole career since college. And The nice thing about having gone to business school, it's not a great thing to do necessarily to go into small business because that's a really expensive way to do it. But I had done that, and lots of people from my class were starting businesses, and I just sort of thought, if the guy that's sitting next to me in class thinks he could start a tech startup, I, of course, can start a business, of course. So then it was a matter of, what am I good at? What do I not have to go to more school for? What do I think I can really make a business out of? And that's when, talking to friends and family, the topic of organizing came up. And this was before Marie Kondo's book came out in the US, and so organizing wasn't as visible as it is now. But more than one person said, you're really organized, you should make something out of that. So that was sort of where the inspiration came from.
Wow. Now, the inspiration of You're Really Organized became a company.
Yes.
So from the time that you decided, okay, I'm going to do this, to starting your own company, was that a direct path, or did you still have other paths along the way?
That was, I wouldn't say direct, because it was scary. Starting a business is scary, and I sort of would dip a toe in, and I would do some research, and I got my first client, but I wasn't really fully committed for multiple years. I was sort of doing it kind of on the side before I finally felt like, okay, I'm making a difference for my clients. I enjoy this work. I'm going to dive all in.
And how did you find the courage to finally just dive all in?
I don't even think I necessarily had the courage. I just thought, might as well. I didn't have anything else that I was as excited about going on. And I feel like this idea that you have to be ready, or you have to really feel prepared, or you have to really feel confident, if you wait for that, you might be waiting forever. Yes. And so I just sort of dove in, and that's kind of how I approach it in general. Be as prepared as is reasonable, and dive in and try. And if it doesn't work, fix it.
And it's interesting because in a lot of ways, you're asking your customers to do something similar. The first time we talked, I felt so much more like you were a coach in many ways than an organizer. So take us through your process, if you would, in terms of how you work with somebody.
Yes, absolutely. So I always start every client off with an in-home consultation, because every person's space is different, their lifestyle is different, their needs are different. I often say to people, someone's before is someone else's after, and vice versa. So if you were just describing to me over the phone what your situation is, I won't necessarily know until I see it. So we do a consultation, we talk through the pain points and what you really want out of the space, and what your vision is, and that sort of helps me inform the project moving forward. But when I start work, the first thing we do is we look at everything in the space, and we make a decision on whether it stays or goes. And I call that the editing process. LMW edits. That's where it comes from.
Okay.
Yeah, because we all have too much stuff. I have too much stuff.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and it's so hard to stay organized if you have excess stuff. The easy mode is just making sure that you only have what you use and love. And then organizing is sort of much simpler. So I would say 60 to 70% of the work is just the sorting and decluttering, the edit process. And then we look at, where do things need to live, and do we need any additional infrastructure in the space to make that happen? So that's the sexy part, where you look at the bins and the labels and what color, and that's the part that people get excited about, but it doesn't happen until sort of the end of the process. And that's when we do that, and we do detailed lists of that we're going to get this and put that there and set it all up for people, and really leave them with a nice after photo that is specifically tailored to them.
I love that you said only hold on to, essentially paraphrasing, what you use and love.
Yes.
Because I know in my own family's case, but I might need this. Yes. So I'm sure that comes up a lot.
All the time.
And how do you, I guess, coach someone through that?
Yeah, I think what I try to do is push them a little farther down the road of thinking about why we're keeping something. Because I think people sort of stop at just in case. And that can be just thought limiting. Yeah. And so they're just well, just in case. And then that's the end of the story. So I just ask more questions. Just in case of what? What's the situation you're thinking about? How likely is that situation to happen? If you didn't have this thing and that situation did happen, do you have a plan B? So really getting into like the nitty gritty, because we keep things that we don't necessarily need out of fear.
Yes.
Fear that we're going to be caught without what we need to survive. And so if we can think through what we really do need to survive these situations, then we can make better and more informed decisions.
So yeah, shout out to my husband who found a cedar branch somewhere and decided, oh, I'm going to hold on to this because I can make something out of it. I'm like, but will you?
That's the question. You can, but will you?
Exactly. So, in terms of deciding to go out and start this business, and you start gathering clients, so much of what you describe really does sound different than what you would see on like HGTV. And I'm serious when I say, just the fact that you're asking these open-ended questions, it's so coach-like. So what does make you, at the risk of already pointing it out, what makes you different from some of the other folks that are doing this?
Yeah, so what I'm trying to do is leave someone with an organizing system that they can maintain themselves. I don't want to see them again. Like, that's not the goal. The goal is to make people self-sufficient. And so it may not look like you see on Pinterest or Instagram or TikTok, but if it works for you, that's what I care about. And I always tell people, like, we'll make it look pretty. We'll put the sauce on it. That's fine. But we've got to make sure that the system actually works for your lifestyle, your needs. Yeah. And the detail is what I do. So an HGTV show will come in, take all the stuff out of your house, put all new stuff in, and you're still left with all the old stuff. And now you have to figure out what to do with it. Whereas I come in and I look at all the stuff you already have, and then we only add things as necessary to create an organizing system.
Wow. To the extent that you can share, what would you say was one of your more challenging organizational scenarios?
So I work with generally really busy professionals and their families, and so these are so these are people who have a lot going on. But it also means they're smart, they're driven, and they want this to work. And I think the key for success in my business is somebody has to be willing to think about changing the way they do things. If they're not willing to change, I cannot help. And so the only client I've ever had where I just was unable to really do anything was this person would not consider getting rid of anything.
Oh.
And I couldn't do anything because the limits of the storage had been reached, and I can't bend space and time.
Yeah. Yet.
Well, maybe someday. For now, I can't do that. And so, whenever I talk to people about organizing, they'll often say, oh, my mom needs you, or my sister needs you, or my friend needs you. And I always say, well, if they'd like to work with me and they're open to change, awesome. But if they're not ready, they're not ready, and that's okay.
Yeah, and it's really important that you mention that because you're challenging mindsets.
Yes.
You're challenging them to think differently, and just the fact that you include so much of why. Why do you need this? How are you going to use this is great. Believe it or not, we're already at the halfway mark. I know, it goes so fast. So please come back after this break for our sponsors for more of What the Why with Barbara Ann and today's very special guest, Lucy Mulligan-Wahl. Welcome back to What the Why with Barbara Ann and today's very special guest all the way from San Francisco, Lucy Mulligan-Wahl. And before the break, we were talking about the changing of the mindsets in terms of, how you get someone to really move forward with changing. In terms of them, there's a lot of people out there who could probably benefit from your services, and but maybe they're kind of on that borderline. How do you work with a client that's kind of almost there and really wants to change, but the fear of change is still stronger than the fear of staying the same?
I know exactly what you mean. And I think sometimes it's helping people see what life could be like, because sometimes you can't really see how this different approach would be better for you. Like, for example, I had a client who her stated goal was to become a minimalist. She really, really wanted that. But once we started doing the editing process that I told you about, she didn't want to get rid of anything. And I sort of thought, she can't see it. She can't see this future of this beautiful minimalist space. So I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pick a corner of, she lived in a studio apartment, so minimalism would have been very helpful.
Yes.
Pick a corner of the room. I pulled everything out except for just the piece of furniture that had been sitting there. And I said, okay, we're going to put one item back at a time until you decide that you like it. And we did that, and we carefully chose each thing, like this thing goes on the wall and this thing goes here, and it looked really cute. And then I said, now turn around and see how much you didn't put back. And there was quite a, because this had been a pretty tightly stuffed space, and she was like, oh my God, that's what it's going to take. And I said, yes, that's what it's going to take. This is what I'm trying to sort of help you understand. And in the case of this particular client, she ended up deciding she wasn't ready.
Okay.
And I actually feel very good about that, because at least now she's fully informed of what it's going to take to get to this place she wants to get to, and she's not ready yet, and that's okay.
And hopefully at some point she will get to that place.
Exactly.
And it sounds like she will appreciate you, because as we've seen on some of the television shows, they basically kind of, it's not even just ripping the Band-Aid off. It's more like tearing the casts off, and they're not ready.
There's some steamrolling that happens there for sure.
Yeah, so no, I love your approach. I guess, who, in your life, one, two, or three people have inspired and supported you to go on this entrepreneurial journey?
Well, I have to say, number one is my husband. Okay. He's the one who was like, yeah, of course you can start a business. Yeah, no problem. It's great. I mean, when I was on the way to come here today, he said, go bring one home. He's absolutely my biggest cheerleader.
That's awesome.
But my family's been very supportive too. And my sister is also an entrepreneur. So we talk a lot about the challenges of entrepreneurship and sort of stuff that happens. And that's really nice to have that within my family.
Awesome. And what would you say was your biggest learning experience in all of this?
Oh my goodness. There have been so many learning experiences, but one particular experience early on, many small businesses, you're reluctant to spend money on things like legal protection and insurance and all that kind of stuff. And from the beginning, I've always been insured. I'm going into people's homes. That's very important.
Yes.
But I tried to DIY as much as I could, right? Because it's expensive. So I didn't have a contract when I first started working. And I had a client bounce all of the checks that they wrote me and then disappear into the void.
Ooh.
So, and this was like early in my business, and like that cash was gonna fund the next couple months of my business. And so it was a really big learning opportunity of, okay, it may be a little bit upfront to pay for a lawyer to review a contract and make sure that it's good, but it's something you really need. So I learned that early on.
Wow. And what advice would you give to someone who wants to go into what you do?
Be very self-aware as to how self-motivated you are. Because there is nobody who's going to say it's time to get up and it's time to do your bookkeeping and it's time to write back all those emails and it's time to get everything in order for your client appointment. You truly have to self-motivate, and you're your own boss, which is great. It's great because no one's telling you what to do, but no one's telling you what to do.
Yes, and please repeat that one more time so we're really clear, because a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to go leave my job and start a business.
Yeah.
So please.
Well, if you're not working, the money's not coming in.
Right.
So sure, you can have unlimited vacation, but there's a trade-off. That means the money's not coming in, and you have to, as an entrepreneur, you're going to be your own best salesperson.
Yes.
And you have to keep that momentum going. When you start to build up momentum, it really starts to happen. I've felt that multiple times in my business. If you get sidetracked and you have to pull away for whatever reason, you lose that momentum, and then it's going to be hard to get it back. So yeah, definitely self-awareness about how you can motivate yourself is essential.
Great advice for this, as well as any entrepreneurial endeavor. I used to say when I was with Small Business Administration, entrepreneurship is what you give up a day job that may or may not have benefits and time off to basically do what you love 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
So now one of the things we talked about in your bio is the ski patrol.
Yes.
So please tell us more about how you got involved with that.
Yeah, so I grew up skiing as a kid. My family always went to the mountains to ski. And I always saw the ski patrollers and thought that was so cool. And my sister and I always wanted to do it. Well, she was in college and she did do it. She just joined the volunteer ski patrol at the mountain that we had grown up skiing at. And I, again, so jealous. Oh my goodness. And finally she sat me down. She said, I can do it, so you can do it too. This is the class you take. This is the person you contact. Let's go. So yeah, I got into it.
That is so awesome. How long have you been doing that?
Oh my goodness. I think I'm at 11 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And what do you love most about it?
I love being there for people in kind of a not great moment in their day, because a lot of injuries that people get when skiing they're going to impact your life for a while. Maybe you need surgery, maybe you need rehab, that kind of stuff. And so being able to be there for someone and help them feel taken care of, while you're transporting them and getting them seen by a nurse and all that kind of stuff. It's very rewarding. And then of course the community too, because then you're part of this community of people who love to ski and love helping people, and that's pretty great.
And it's interesting because what I'm hearing you say is that aspects of what you do in your volunteer role and in your business both are helping to rescue people.
In a way, yes, absolutely.
Wow. Yeah. I guess I've been throwing this, and I hope it's not too much of a curveball, but recently I've been asking people of what, if any, questions that I have not asked do you wish that I would?
Oh gosh, that's such a good question. I love answering questions about what do people not expect about the work that I do, because I think there's enough visibility into organizing on social media and on TV at this point that people sort of have a preconceived notion. And I often find when I'm first meeting a client or a potential client, I have to break down their expectation of what's going to happen, because I'm not going to be providing what they see on TV.
Okay. Interesting, because I had thought about asking what's one myth about your industry.
Yes, and that's a good one.
Kind of
Exactly.
in line with that. So, all right. So yeah, they think that they're getting what they see on Home and Garden Television.
Yes.
And, I think very interesting. So, I guess to sum it up, we kind of touched on it, but what does the future hold for you and your company? I mean, you've got team members.
I do have team members, yes. I would like to grow a little bit more, because with more team members, I'm able to take on bigger jobs at larger properties, which are really fun. It just needs a little bit more coordination. And I'd like to do more of this kind of thing. I love talking to people about getting organized, about the power that organizing has to make your life easier, because that's the whole reason I do this, is to help people have easier lives. So yeah, that's the plan.
Awesome. And multiple locations, or planning on staying in the Bay Area?
I'll probably stay in the Bay Area, yeah. It's been home for quite some time. Okay. But I do work virtually as well.
All right. And I guess any last words as we're at time again already.
Oh my goodness.
So any parting words for our viewers?
Yes. You can be organized, no matter who you are. It's for everybody.
Awesome. So, and hey, if you're in the Bay Area, you know who to call.
Yes.
So thank you so much for coming in and joining us in the studio. I'm so excited that you were here. What is the best way for anyone who does want to reach out to you to connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. My website is a great place to start, lmwedits.com, and I am on all the socials at lmwedits, most active on Instagram and now TikTok.
And you can also Google her. She's been on podcasts, and it's her first television show, though.
Yes.
We get to be first. But, there's other content out there with her. So thank you again for joining us and sharing your professional journey. And
thank you for having me.
Personal as well. You're welcome. So now, regarding our upcoming guests, you really don't want to miss any of the conversations that we have with them. They include leaders from all ages and industries and backgrounds, and many of them really did overcome, in some instances, seemingly insurmountable challenges to figure out their why. Please tune in to learn and be inspired by how they did what they did, and how you can do it too if you tackle your mindset. If you missed our past guests and want to check out what they had to say, you can also catch all 3 seasons of What the Why on RVNTelevision.com. You have so many viewing choices these days. There's so much content out there. So thank you very much for choosing to watch our show. And please tell a friend or colleague about us. And we're easy to find, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on demand, rvntelevision.com and Roku. And also, please remember, whether you're looking to make changes in your life or job or career, no matter how big or small, join us again for more interesting and illuminating conversations with guests such as Lucy, who decided to overcome her fear, tackle whatever challenges lay in her path, to find her core purpose and to live it.